Malaysia has entered, I would say, a very dangerous phase, at least for the time being. There's a political flux going on, economy is not doing well, and now you have this virus. And if you analyze their actions, it shows that this is a party that is in a kind of a disarray. And the most important one is their lockdown of all travel in and out of Malaysia. And suddenly they didn't realize that there were 300, maybe they didn't realize that you cannot just lock down the border between Singapore and Malaysia, the land border, because there are 300,000 Malaysians coming to Singapore every day for work. So if you do that, 300 Malaysians have got no jobs for 2 weeks. 300,000. This is the busiest land crossing in the world. And then they suddenly realize, oh, what's going to happen? Then they didn't make it clear whether the flow of goods from Malaysia to Singapore will also be stopped. So immediately the Prime Minister of Singapore spoke to him on the phone, and finally they said the flow of goods will happen, but these people, we will still maintain the blockade. And Singapore decided that they can come before the blockade starts, and we will make sure that they will have accommodation in Singapore for 2 weeks. Because what a lot of these Malaysians do is they return to Malaysia every day. It's a daily commute, mainly by motorcycles, because accommodation is very expensive here. They come and work here, but they go back to Johor, and we averted a kind of a disaster, especially in Singapore, because we are depending on these 300,000 workers. Our trains may be crippled because a lot of the drivers are Malaysians. Buses may be crippled because a lot of the drivers are Malaysians. So I think the main point is that stability in politics is very important, and once it comes to a kind of a crisis, I think they should put aside their political differences and work for the people. I think it all goes back to one issue, and between Singapore and Malaysia, and that is, we were part of Malaysia in 1963. 2 years later, we came out of Malaysia. It has never been a healthy relationship, even from then, and sometimes it has got worse. And I think the basic problem is that the Malaysian leaders like Mahathir treated the relationship as an abang-adik relationship, which is big brother, small brother. They are always big brother, we are small brother. And when Singapore came out in 1965, very few Malaysians gave us any chance of survival. Not only that Singapore survived, but did so much better than Malaysia. And that thing still sits with many Malaysians, especially the older Malaysians. And so when Mahathir came to power nearly 2 years ago, we were prepared. At least the political leadership in Singapore was prepared for a rough time. And although it was not as bad as it was when he was PM the second time round, or the initial phase of his first premiership, I think there were enough factors to show that Mahathir is not going to keep quiet. The high-speed railway, which were more or less a signed deal, he wanted to renegotiate it. There have been noises bringing back the water issue, whether we should pay more for the water that we get from Malaysia. And of course, the latest is when Mahathir lost his prime ministership